I am the founder and CEO of Dare to Be, for those of you that don't know me. And this is Logan,
Hi,
our
everyone.
newest Dare to Be family member. We're super excited to have you on board.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
So Logan is going to be in charge of our corporate engagement. So that's really exciting. You'll find out more about that as well. And we have Monica, who you can see behind the scenes, just being able to manage questions or anything else on that side. So
It's like a title.
yeah, it's always. So with that said, I guess we'll just get started. For those of you that don't know us, and then since it's going to be replaying, anyone could just be able to hear that in the beginning. But we want to be able to give you just insights about the organization for those of you that don't know us. And we're trying to get better with social media, just giving you more insight about the programs and just overall everything that we do and all the amazing people behind it. We started with a Thanksgiving event, and this is our 10th year.
Yay! The anniversary's coming up.
Yes, we're celebrating 10 years. So when we started, it was just strictly Thanksgiving events, and that was just basically all we did in the very beginning, but it's morphed to so much. So we wanted to be able to, as we gear up to our anniversary celebration taking place in September, just being able to give everyone a little more insight as to what we do. So Logan here, being new, is actually going to be doing all the Ask Me Anything series, which is going to be with all our different teammates. So you'll be able to meet people that have been with us for so many years, founding volunteers and ambassadors, and a few other surprises as well. So we're really excited.
I'm very excited. I'm excited to get to learn more about, like she said, I'm new, so I'm excited to learn more about you guys, as well as be part of the team and get to talk to everyone there as well. So we're really excited.
Yeah, so I guess let's first start with why you got started. So let people get to know you, and then we can get started more into the questions that you set up for.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I moved to New York City about 2 years ago, and I'm currently a full-time student at Columbia University. I'm pre-law, so I will be headed to law school next year. Fingers crossed on that one. So I just really wanted to get involved in philanthropy, but I also wanted to meet people that were like-minded as well. Manhattan can be a little bit isolating, especially because I'm very, very busy. So I researched her organization, Dare to Be, came up, and it was such an impactful cause. It was just something that, like, you just cannot scroll past whenever you see, you know, we're here to help homeless children. It just was like, the amount of vulnerability that group has, I just couldn't not press on the link. So I signed up. It's super easy, by the way, for anybody who wants to volunteer. It's very, very easy sign up process. And I decided to go to one of the events in Brooklyn, actually, and I just met her there, and I met the kids, and I got to learn a little bit more about the organization. And then I told her about my future goals of some nonprofit work that I would like to do personally on my end. And she gave me so much advice for free, so thank you. And we talked about a little bit about my work history as well, because I've worked in different corporations and I have a lot of experience in that. And she found the perfect fit to really use my skills, but also give me an opportunity to learn and grow within the organization for a cause that's just, I don't know, gives you chills every time you think about it. So yeah, that's where I am now.
I think that's what's been the most exciting part with Dare to Be, that it's something that our slogan has definitely been, we make it easy to do good, whether it's volunteering or sponsoring or donating. It's just about how can we accommodate your goals, whether it's personal or professional, so that they align with the goals that we have for the homeless children we work with. And I think it's important for everyone to know that it is an all-volunteer organization. So we are all just, you know, working together towards this with everyone. And it's just a great mix of people such as yourself. We have students, we have entrepreneurs, we have business owners, and, you know, career professionals that volunteer. So like really whether it's through the leadership role or the on-site roles, it's just been really exciting to see the kind of people that come together. So
yeah, it's also a great networking opportunity. Like
yeah.
the amount of advice I've already been given, I feel like I should pay you for. So it's really amazing to have access to that while you're also doing something that you really care about.
Yeah, so it's been really exciting. So
yeah, we have lots of questions for you. So we're gonna dive right in. We'll start out with like a little bit more of a fun question, then we'll go into the background of like how you started the organization.
Okay.
But I thought this was a really interesting question. So this one was asking, this person was asking, with you being such a busy person, and since sleep, diet, and exercise is associated with overall health and productivity, can you share your daily regimen in all three categories? So health, diet, and exercise. I'm actually curious about this. So
I think I'm like the worst person to ask, because I am really the person that says you just need to listen to your body. So to me, if my body's telling me have dessert, I'm gonna have it. I'm not those people. I have like the worst regimen, so it's definitely not a regimen that people want to follow. But there is a lot of scheduling. So everything, I think for entrepreneurs and just people that are always on the go, you always have to be able to manage your schedule and be realistic about not taking on more than what you could chew. So that's really important for me, because eating and sleeping is important. So believe it or not, I actually have to schedule those things because like when you're so busy, you will totally lose track of time. Especially for me, when I get really creative, I completely lose track of time when I'm designing or doing these different things. So I have to hear the alarm go off, and that's my reminder, like, you need to eat, you know.
Oh, no.
Like, go eat and go take a walk. I love hiking. I love physical activities. I'm not really into fitness per se, like
Going
working
to the
out every
gym,
day. Yeah,
right.
like I'm like the worst. Unless I have a buddy or something, I am the worst when it comes to working out by myself. But I have a lot of physical activity. I love whitewater rafting. I love hiking. So it's a lot of that.
That's a lot.
And walking. Yeah. So I like a lot of that stuff. So that's more of my regimen. And it's really always taking time out for yourself throughout the day. That's really important for me, where you know that, because I always tell people, no matter how busy you are, things are still going to be there tomorrow. Like you're not going to get everything done today.
Right.
So that's part of my regimen. And then really surrounding myself. And this may sound like a little cheesy or something, but like for me, it's really surrounding myself with really good people and like refueling with them. So
energy.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I'm an empath. So it's like really important for me to be surrounded by that great energy. So that's a really big thing for me. So that's part of my regimen, like always having that sounding board, or even just calling my newest niece and just hearing her voice or something, but just always being grounded and making time for that, no matter how crazy it is. So.
Do you find it difficult to take time for yourself because you are doing, it's something that's so impactful for other people? Do you find that it's sometimes difficult to be a little bit selfish with your time? Or
no, I actually, and it's even funny because even with our team, like, you know, because I always tell people you can't pour from an empty well. So like you really have to take time for you. So I don't find it selfish at all. Like I totally just tune out. I'm like, bye everybody. Like, you know, like I'm already telling everyone I'm going away. You guys aren't going to hear from me for 2 weeks, you know? But yeah, like I think it's really important that you take that time for yourself. And you know, on a daily basis, I just take a moment where I just completely shut down and I get within. I'm not good at meditating. That's another thing. I have zero discipline for meditating, but I do my own form of meditation where it's I actually like sit back and enjoy a book, or just it's just like me time. And then there's times that I would totally just binge watch something like once a month. On a Sunday, I will binge watch something.
Yes.
Like I am completely shut down to the world, the phones, no one's talking to me, and it's just me and the TV and some really good series. Like, you know.
You don't have to explain that to me. That's more than a once a month ritual I have. But yeah, that's really important.
I wish I could do more than once a month. I would love that.
Wow.
And I have a very addictive personality. So like when I see a show, I'm like, oh my God, like Game of Thrones, having dying. Like we won't even go there right now, but go ahead.
Yes. So the next question, so we'll start a little bit about the organization was founded in 2009. So
Yes.
you've been here a while, 10 years coming up. We'll talk a little bit about, how you founded the organization and what led you to here.
Yeah, so to make a really long story short, because then that will be here forever, this is like kind of like a after work drinks type of conversation. Right. But definitely it was just more, the short version of it is that I was volunteering and I was impacted by volunteering. I think it's like the most important part. And through the impact that my family had, because someone helped my mother pursue her education and get a college degree, that inspired myself and my brothers to do more. So, because I actually had no aspirations for college just because it wasn't something that I saw in my community or people like me doing at that time. So seeing my mother do was just kind of like, hey, like my mom just learned English, went to college with 3 kids. Like I better act like I know. I've got to
That's crazy.
Do better than her, right?
Yeah.
So, so I did that. And so we sort of domino effect had not been volunteers, my mother would have never had that opportunity. So I feel like it's really sad that a lot of people don't realize how their hours dedicated to someone will actually be a domino effect of positivity in someone else's life because you're not there for the results.
Right.
So part of it, when I started volunteering, it was just like, when I make it, I'm going to volunteer and help other children. And when we started doing that, we started discovering the discrepancies between events that we thought that they should be one way or another way. From all angles. It was from the volunteer experience to the sponsor experience to the client experience, which were the children. And so one event was just like so disillusioning that then I was asked, like, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, wait, what? And then we did do something about it. We changed what was in the pantry and we created this amazing Thanksgiving event where I wanted kids to just have like a really memorable experience, something that they could cultivate, that no matter how tough times were, that they
Something
could,
special.
they could hold on to this memory. And so the first time we did that, and then I remember after going to a meeting in another location and someone calling and saying, hey, one of the moms called from one of the kids that you met with, they took her kids away.
Oh, wow.
And they're in the foster system, and it was 2 brothers.
Wow.
And she said, is the girl with the curly hair with you? And she was like, because he had mentioned that he was meeting with Dare to Be, and she goes, can you thank her? My kids were taken away, but they said that while they're in the shelter, while they're in the foster care system, they keep holding on to that memory they had with her when when they were with her and celebrating and doing all these things. So it was like exactly what we wanted. We were like, wow, this is exactly the experience that we wanted to provide. But then as time grew and we started discovering there was homeless children in the system, because back then it was just working in lower end communities. And then we discovered the homeless shelters and we were like, wow, like that's a lot of kids. We were like, how many kids? And they were like, oh, this is nothing. There's over 20,000 kids in the system. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't even know they existed. Right. And it was just like so like mind boggling to me. It was overwhelming and it was depressing. And I was like, there's got to be more we could do.
Right.
And we really, it's amazing how much you could really do by just spreading the word or getting your network together. Because at first, that's what we did. We just started with like, let's spread the word, get our network together. What can we do? And the more we spoke about it, the more we were saying, oh, we could do more. And people like you guys coming on board and saying, hey, we could do more. Like, let's do corporate engagement. Let's do this, let's do that. So it's been amazing to see it grow, but basically that's it. It's just seeing a problem and saying, there is something we could do about it, even if it's minimal, because we were like, let's just do something small.
Right.
We didn't have plans on doing anything big at all, but then it just morphed into what it is now.
Wow. And I do think that's interesting that you mentioned, even for myself, I was shocked by just how prevalent homelessness is amongst children. And you would think, in this very wealthy nation that we live in, that this wouldn't really be that much of an issue. And it's really shocking. And I know that there's a lot of stigma around homelessness. Can you explain a little bit, give us some insight of how children end up in this homeless situation?
Yeah, it's been so crazy because I think that's definitely been one of the biggest challenges with us here at Dare to Be and people always get surprised when they hear this, but some people really don't care about kids. And
I was one of those people surprised. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people honestly do not care about kids, and they're brutally honest. Some people will support us just because they like who we are, and they support it, and they want to support what we're doing. But we've had people be brutally honest, like, hey, I don't like kids. And then you add the fact that there's the stereotype, like you said, of homelessness, and they're like, well, that's their parents' problem. Why is it your problem?
Right.
Why should we help this kid if the parents should be helping this kid? And so the stigmatisms that go on about the fact that people think that it's drug addicts or lazy people that don't want to work, that stereotype leads to so many issues because of the fact that that's not the case.
Right.
In 2008, homelessness started impacting regular day-to-day people. It was people
paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, there's like everyone's like a paycheck away from homelessness or one disaster away.
Right.
So some of our kids are homeless because they lost everything to a fire. We have other people that it's because they lost a job. Some people have jobs. A lot of like our families do have jobs inside the shelters too.
Right.
That's another thing that people are shocked. Like they have jobs, they just can't get out of the rut.
Right.
Just because
they're owed debt or something, or it's like you said, especially in Manhattan, it's hard to get an apartment. It's hard you have to have, deposit, you have to have income history. It's insane, honestly, to find housing here. So.
Exactly. And then you also add the fact that, with gentrification happening back in the days, Section 8, which is the housing certificate that you get where the government or the city pays for your rent if you're one of these individuals. Back then, as a person that owned a home, I said if I was in Brooklyn or these bad areas, the best way for me to monetize this place was to partner with the city and get these guaranteed rent. But now with gentrification, it's like, wait a minute, why do I want a homeless family that's going to pay me a minimal amount when I could actually take this 2-bedroom apartment, make it into a 3 or 4-bedroom apartment, $1,500, $2,000 a month.
At least, per person.
Per person. Yeah. So like, why would I rent it out to a family? So now there's a lot of that discrimination, even though they're supposed to say that that's not the case.
Right.
Like we've had cases where there's a whole building with all these apartment units available and they will not rent it out to the families.
Oh,
so now they can pick and choose more. So the children are a lot more in the systems. But yeah, some of them are disasters that happened after Sandy. A lot of families ended up homeless because of Sandy.
Oh, wow.
So families that encounter emergency situations like that, disasters, like they take priority. So all the other ones get left behind and they have to be in the system longer.
Oh, wow.
So every time there's a catastrophe that you see a fire department go in the building or something, that just pushes everybody behind. So you also have parents that have lost everything because of a medical condition. We have one of our kids in Harlem that he was getting sick. Long story short, he ended up paralyzed. He was this kid that was jumping and running and then slowly became paralyzed. And so the father had a great job, but now he had to take days off to take the kid to the doctor. So for every day that he was taking off, he was losing vacation days and losing more days. And then before you knew it, he lost his job because he didn't have enough days anymore. And like he was spending so many times at the doctor. So then he lost his job, and then all of a sudden now he still has to go to the doctors. It's costing him more money because the health insurance, he lost it with the company. The health insurance provided for them after wasn't that great. So now all of a sudden, like now you lose your home. So now you end up in the shelter. Your kid's paralyzed.
You're forced to choose between your child's medical needs and care or a house.
Exactly.
Obviously the house is going to go. Like you're just going to do what you have to do.
And then there's a mental thing that happens also when you're in there. It just starts bringing you down.
Your hope
and so we've had one mom that they lost everything to a fire. She had a job, a car, she had everything. And then they don't choose what shelter they go to, so it could be completely displacing them. So she went from being in Queens all the way to being in the Bronx.
Away from your community, and
They try, some parents try to keep their kids with less disruption, so they try to keep them in the same school. So she started trying to drive her kid to Queens, but now like all of a sudden, now you're showing up late to work, so... she couldn't do that. Then now she can't afford to drive all the time so far away. So she lost her car. Then she lost her job. So like now it's just getting worse and worse. And once you go through that, and then like the mental stuff you go through in the
Right.
shelter, it's hard to get out.
Right.
Once you're in, it's hard to get out.
Well, the mental health issues that you would end up facing because of that, like you said, from just having a certain level of post-traumatic stress from losing, your house and your job and your life and your livelihood, and the depression that would eventually accumulate after that as well is just devastating.
And then the other group of people, speaking of mental health, are mental health issue cases. So, and those are pretty tough because we focus on the kids. So the parents that have the mental health issues, it's really tough because that leaves more responsibility for our kids. So our kids are having to adult a lot sooner.
And they are very mature. I mean, honestly, if you think about going through that situation and being able to be aware of it, I think it gives you a certain type of wisdom. These kids are incredibly intelligent.
Yeah,
it's
amazing. Crazy because you see on Facebook like adulting, like I don't want to adult right now, right? And yet like our kids are doing it so young. We have one of our kids, her mom was blind.
Oh, wow.
So she's having to do everything with her, translate everything, be with her, taking her everywhere. So she could be a kid only during certain windows, and then she would have to stop being a kid during those times. Say, I have to go help my mom with this and that.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow. Well, and to kind of segue from that as well, these children, it's not that you're just, working with them for one specific, let's say, Thanksgiving situation or a celebration or an event. You're with them for a very long time. And I do think people get a little nervous about volunteering because maybe they think, oh, well, if I'm not going to be in this for 5 or 6 years, then, I'm not actually going to make an impact. But that's definitely not the case. I even myself have experienced you can go for one event and help out, and that's perfectly okay. You can donate, even $1 makes a big difference. So in terms of your like sustained and meaningful growth, because it has been a really big boom, but it's also been really, like you said, it was more of a gradual growth.
Yeah.
So do you think that's more from the volunteering side, or did you plan that, or like what's your vision?
So I'm a business strategist, so everything was definitely planned. Okay. It was definitely like when we said we want to do something, we want to take this on, we first sat down and said, okay, what are we doing? Because it started with a group of friends. And we said, all right, what are we going to do? What is this going to look like? What can we help with? So we knew it was going to be Thanksgiving and it was going to be this amazing experience, but we said, people are going to ask for more. So we're like, all right, what is that going to look like? What are we going to say yes to? What are we going to say no to? What is the future of what we want? And so at that time, we had the vision of like, we just want to be this group of volunteers, because we weren't planning on being a nonprofit at all, that collaborates with other nonprofits to be able to deliver these amazing memories to these children. And once we went into the shelter, that morphed, and it's always morphing.
Right.
It was just about, wow, there's these children and they need so much more than just a good memory.
Right.
We could equip them with school supplies. But then we do yearly reviews with our kids. So they're like, that was not enough. Or like to us, it was shocking that we were giving them wire-bound notebooks and they're like, we can't use that.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what do you mean you can't use that? And they were like, it's considered a weapon in our school.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
Wow.
So we take them really seriously when it comes to that. And that's how the 7 steps evolved. But it's super easy for volunteers, whether it is good to have, it's great to have repeat volunteers. Consistency is important for these kids because they don't have it.
Right.
But the one-off volunteers are great because of the fact that they're helping deliver the services.
Right.
So that's what's been amazing for us, because without the volunteer manpower, the hands-on and those resources, like we would not exist.
Right.
So it's definitely been the volunteers behind it all and able to help us grow as much as we have. Yeah.
Wow.
And advocates, I can't express enough how important advocates are. People that all they do is just share about JRB and share what we're doing, and then like they get us grants or they get us partnerships or whatever it is. It's amazing.
And then that's kind of where I stepped in as well, because you're looking to grow the amount of services you can offer within New York City, but also globally. So that's what's coming up as well. So I know that we have a event coming up in the Dominican Republic. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so last year, through one of our founding volunteers, Angela, she started with us with Dare to Be from day one. And so through these years, her family, we've all been together. And so she's from the Dominican Republic, and she was doing, she started helping out the children in her community where she was born. And because we get cheaper rates on our side, we were like, we could offer you the cheaper discount. So, we get backpacks for like $3, $4. So we could pass on that discount to you.
Awesome.
So she would collect the money and then send it. And so every year she was reporting back and doing more and more. And after years of doing this, she was like, finding like, I want to do more. And so, well, you've been doing great things. And if we had anything left over, like if we happen to have any toys left over or any like a small amount of school supplies, we would give it to her because we don't have storage space to really keep anything. So we were like, all right, because back then it was like one-off projects that we were doing. So we were like, all right, just take what's left over.
Right.
But once she said she wanted to do more, we were like, let's look to see what that looks like. And last year we went out there to pilot it and we're like, let's see. And it was just amazing. The kids were incredible and everyone made it super easy for us to engage, like the connections, the city agencies, the social workers. So we're like, all right, this
felt like really welcomed.
Yeah. And just the fact that it was easy to get to the kids and deliver the program, get them to work with our rules and guidelines and like our procedures, because we need to make sure we follow that. So we were like, if we could set that up, then we could do this. And then we came back and gave the reporting to our team. We don't do anything unless it's like a unanimous decision with our team. At that time, we have 14 leadership members and all 14 raised their hands and said they wanted to pursue. So this year we're going back to work with the same kids. And so we're doing the fundraising for that. And we have a free rooftop event that's happening.
Yes.
And it's really amazing because all you have to do is show up for free.
Friday, July 26th.
Yes, next Friday. And they will donate $6. The promoter is donating $6 for every person that is registered or every person that just mentions Dare to Be. So get your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, the random strangers you meet along the way.
It's rare for a promoter to pay you to show up.
I know.
So I'm taking advantage.
I was like, bring everybody. And your dancing shoes, because it's going to be music.
And then we have an interesting question for both of us. Someone is curious what stimulates our minds. What good books are we reading? So we'll start with you. Are you reading anything right now?
Yeah, it's a really great book actually that it's called The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Oh, cool.
And it's really amazing because as a business strategist, like the biggest issue I have with my clients is telling them like focus on one thing. They're like, no, but then no one's gonna hire me and I have to do all these. And it's like the one thing really focuses. And when I read books, I love reading them for me, but also to recommend to my clients. So I always recommend books to people. But The One Thing's really amazing because it talks about like people that have had success with this, like Bill Gates and all these other individuals that they focus on one thing. And there's always one thing that you focus on, one person that impacts your life. Like for me, it's one of my best friends, Kendrick. Like he's also a board member here and he founded Dare to Be with me.
Awesome.
Like he's always the person I bounce ideas with. He always gives me like reality checks. He's always like, cheerleading me on or saying like, did you lose your mind? Like he's really honest with me with things. So there's always the one person, there's that one skill set that you have. Like for me, it's strategic planning. I'm a visionary. I'm great at organizing things. And it's being able to identify that about you, so that leads your path towards everything.
Yeah.
And the one thing you're passionate about. So I think that's like just an amazing book to kind of like centralize with that because people get too scattered. So even though I'm a business strategist and I run Dare to Be, it's all one thing because I'm a community builder. To me, it's all about strengthening the communities that we live, work, and play in.
Bringing it all together.
Right. So through strategic planning, I empower small business owners so that they could give back to their communities because that's my goal.
Right.
And then through the homeless population, it's developing the children to become the future providers for us.
Right. Exact future business owners, future employees. Yeah.
Right. So we're strengthening the community with existing adults and then prepping the future to develop, to continue and build up those communities.
Wow.
So it's all linked up. It's all one thing, even though I'm doing two separate methods to get there.
That's amazing. I'm a little bit, when it comes to my reading, I'm a bit more scattered than you are. I am currently reading Stephen Hawking's last book. Yes, it's very fascinating. I think it's called.
That's my next one.
It's very good. You can borrow it.
Okay.
I think it's the like little or small questions to big answers, I think is what it's called. It's very fascinating. And then every year I read Catcher in the Rye. It's just my favorite book of all time. I read it. It's like an annual thing for me. So I'm a pre-law major, so I pretty much read textbooks all day long, but then to just get some physics in there. And I think that kind of goes to what you're saying is, ironically, even though there's all these separate things that you can be interested in, it does really help, bring everything all together. And so, going out of your comfort zone, volunteering is a great way to do it. Reading a physics book is a great way to do it, to kind of just, open up your mind.
And I love biographies, because being able to hear like other people's stories and challenges, like it's just like, I remember reading Adam Braun's book, Pencils of Promise. It's an amazing nonprofit. And so reading his book, like when we started this, I was just like, what are we doing? Like, we're crazy. Like, this is insane. And everyone's telling me I'm insane because I gave up my whole career and everything. Wow. And they were just like, are you nuts? And you're not working full time. I was like, I work in a different way,
Right.
But like reading his book, he was saying like when he started, and this is someone that's huge, and he started with Justin Bieber, So to hear him say like he started in an office that was like really small, and like there was brassieres hanging because it was like a garment industry office space. And I was like, okay, like we're doing good because look how fancy our office is.
So very fancy.
Like I believe in patting yourself in the back of the office. I was like, all right, you're doing good. So I think it's really important, and it just, I think books just open up your mind to so much. So reading to me is just like a total escape and a Zen place, like you said.
Yeah, totally. And that's part of the 7 steps as well for the kids is like, like you said, being in a shelter can really just put you in one mindset. So it's really important that they do have access and experience outside of that into different, businesses and financial literacy and art, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So we are live. I want to know, do we have any questions from the audience? I don't know.
Nothing? Okay.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah. So we'll keep going unless you have questions, and Monica will let us know if there's anything there. Oh, yeah, there is. Found it. Hey, Christian. Hola, prima. She's like, I'm watching you, but I have no idea what you're saying because it's in Spanish. It's in English. Julia's watching from the UK. Julia was a volunteer with us for 3 years from London.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she's super amazing. We miss each other, but she's still in contact with us and
cool.
keeps us in our, make sure we're like on point with everything.
Yeah, international.
She's always overseeing us. Oh yeah, we have international volunteers. We have our client relations who's in France. So yeah, we have volunteers from around the world. So it's pretty exciting.
I do have one question.
Yes.
Who was your biggest inspiration growing up?
My mom.
Oh,
yeah.
That's cool.
It's definitely my mom because I grew up in a neighborhood that wasn't really diversified. So I always just grew up people, like where I grew up, everybody was doing great things. Like they were like above what I thought considered above me because I was a minority. Like we did not grow up in a minority neighborhood.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
so it was like a very non-minority neighborhood where I grew up. So I didn't really have anyone to relate to. But my mom is just, she's beyond amazing. I mean,
and she was an opera singer, right?
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, we wish, right? My niece came out like her though, so it's amazing. She sings amazing, but I can't carry a tune for the life of me. She doesn't know what happened to me, but but she, just seeing her come, where she was and like her dedication to things, she's so driven. And my brothers and I definitely, at least my middle brother and I, my baby brother and I definitely get that from my mom. Like we are just so driven. We're so compassionate. Like my brother did a cross-country tour raising awareness on domestic violence, doing a tattoo tour.
Wow.
So like, we're very like, and because of my mom, like my mom, there was like nothing stopping her. So for me, it's like there's nothing that could stop us. And people are like, what are you doing? And they're like, you're crazy. I'm like, it's okay, we'll figure it out on the way.
We're just gonna keep chugging forward. Totally.
Yeah, we got this.
Totally.
And it's like, oh my God, do we have this? Like while I'm running towards it, I'm like, do we really have this? We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. But yeah, it's definitely my mom, just because I feel like if she she was able to accomplish so much, and there's nothing I can't do, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think every woman in my life was a huge inspiration to me, from my best friends growing up to my older sister, to my mom, to my grandmother, to my aunts. It's just, the resilience that they have is just so incredible. And I think watching, you know, the men in their life as well support them, it was just really beautiful to watch. And I was kind of the same way. I was like, well, I'm going to New York, I'm going to LA, we're just gonna do it. We'll figure it out once we get there.
I know. I've lived in different countries and people are just like, what, you're crazy. And I'm like, yeah,
we'll figure it out. It'll be fine, we'll figure it out.
We got this.
So let's see. I'm also kind of curious about, there are a lot of charities out there, you know, which is amazing. So for someone who is, you know, really trying to decide what kind of thing that they want to get involved with, or how they want to donate, or how they want to spend their money. I know, you know, the economy is a bit tough right now, so I think people are a bit more selective. So in terms of the long-term effect of how, you know, donating to this particular organization affects our country, this is a very big question, so I apologize in advance.
Oh my God. She's just at the country. I'm like, oh.
How are you going to change the world? But I think that there's, like you said, a domino effect.
Yes.
And we were talking about how these children really could be the future change makers, you know, cure cancer and help the climate change. So this particular, you know, cause, how have you seen the impact happen since 2009, and how would you kind of describe that and answer any questions like someone might have if they said, well, I'm concerned about the climate, I'm concerned about the future, but where should I put my money?
I definitely tell people, when it comes to your time, well, first of all, time or money, they're both huge assets, right? Because time is our biggest asset. Like I say that all the time, because that's something you can't take back at all. Money you could earn again and stuff, but the time, once it's gone, it's gone. So whether it's time or money, it's really aligning it with what you're most passionate about. You know, and really looking to see what your personal goals are. So I do a lot of like personal branding with like my clients, and it's really identifying like what you want with your life, and then aligning it, because depending on where you go, especially if you're volunteering, you're meeting certain people. So you definitely want, like, for example, our age range is from 25 to 35, like the majority of our volunteers. We do have some older volunteers, but that's like the bulk of our volunteers. And they've become friends. We've had people get married through this, you know? So like, there's like amazing connections that people make through this, because we're very strategic about where we recruit our volunteers. So we're not just recruiting in random places. It's like very specific where we recruit our volunteers.
You really do feel like you're making an impact. You're not just kind of another, you know, volunteer ticked off the roster.
Yeah, but the thing is that we also look at the volunteers as our clients. So our clients aren't just the children that we serve, it's our volunteers. So we are always about, how can we make this a great experience for you? How can we make sure that when you come in, you get to know the volunteers in the room? Because a lot of times it's awkward, right? Like if go to an event and you're just there like, hi, if I don't have the personality to be like, hey, I'm Roxana, what's your name? Then now there was no opportunity for me to get to know you. But everything we do is very intentional. When you come here, we automatically do introductions with everyone. So there's this whole thing that already now we're breaking that ice for you. So it's very easy. The way we set up the roles as well for people to engage is very easy,
right?
You know, so we find ways. So for example, you're new, you're like, all right, how do we get her to know everybody?
I'm already on here,
right? How do we get her to get to know everyone when our team is so scattered, right? Our team is very virtual. So we were like, oh, this is a great way for them to get to know you and you get to know them, because our team has been together for so long, right? So we have a few newbies that came on board this year, but overall, I think this would be a great way for everyone to get to know one another.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's be very intentional, know like where you are going to go. And before you donate, definitely go check out what they do.
Right.
Experience it. You know, see what they're doing, attend one of their fundraising events, attend their volunteer events, you know, see how they are engaged. Because I would do that because I used to be a volunteer, a sponsor, a donor. So I would say, okay, how am I seeing them? Because once you experience it, then you're like, I want to help these people reach their goals. I want to help them fund it because I see that their programs deliver results.
Right.
You know, so like you've seen it. So people will say, I want to donate more time. You wanted to get leadership role because you loved what you saw with the kids.
Right,
you know, because we are very intentional with that. So definitely, whether it's your time or your money, experience it, try to learn more about it, ask questions about it, and see what they are all about so that you're able to experience it and see what the results are with it too.
I think that's pretty amazing because people get a little intimidated about, you know, it is your hard-earned money and you do have a right to know where it's going and how it's being used, and you should feel, you know, good about donating it or your time, like you said as well.
And for us, that was like a huge growing thing because we were very grassroots and that, you know, we've been growing, but we didn't always have such a big team. So that's where we failed in the beginning because like even something as like a thank you letter, we couldn't send it until like 2 months later. People don't understand why. Yeah, people don't understand why it took them so long to get a letter. But like we're doing 30 events and it's just like a crew of 5 leading it, even though we have 120 volunteers like for one day of events. Like it's only 5 people running it. And I think that's where people didn't understand it. So it was like a learning process, and we did lose some people for that because we weren't as effective with the aftermath. So we were focused on the actual experience, but we couldn't really be responsive to the after, because there's always the pre, the during, and the after. And we were really good at the pre and the during. In the beginning, we were only good at the during. We weren't even good at the beginning. So it's all been a learning process for us. And now we finally got it down packed because we have one person that's just in charge of client relations, who does donations. We have one person just in charge of volunteering. But when I started for the first few years, like even though we had all these volunteers that would help deliver, it was only me running the show behind the scenes. And it was just like, oh my God. I remember being in our office like when we first got the office here in 2015, and there was like 8 people in the room. I was like, I used to do all your jobs. How did I manage that?
You're like, I just can't even go back there. I can't even think about it.
I was like, look how many of you are in this room right now.
Like, I need a gold star from each and every one of you.
I was like, what was I thinking?
Wow. Well, and I think that's amazing. Like you learn from that, and that's how you, you know, change, and you're willing to accept that because obviously you're a business owner yourself, so you're able to know, like, okay, you know, that didn't work, so we're gonna figure this out. Can't do it all on my own.
It's like riding a bike, like dust yourself off and get right back on it. We were like, oh well. And we were very honest from the beginning. We didn't know the nonprofit world. We knew business, and we were very good at business. And I think that's what saved us because we did establish operations. We did have a goal. We knew what to say no to right away.
Right.
But then most of the stuff we were like, damn, that hurt.
We're like,
there were times we came out crying. We were like, what just happened?
You know what? It's all growing pains, but we're now 10 years, so you made it.
Yeah, but it was tough growing pains. In 10 years, we got like 2 bad reviews in 10 years. And we cried we got those 2 bad reviews. We were hysterical. Jules is on. She remembers. We cried.
Yeah, she says a note. She says she remembers those days. It was exciting having office space.
Oh yeah, Jules started when we had no office space, and she was like, I can't do this. And I was like, what are we gonna do, Jules? She's like, I can't work in the Starbucks and the coffee shop. It's too loud in here. I can't hear anything. How am I supposed to speak to anybody? And I was like, Jules, what are we supposed to do? She's like, we've got to figure something out. I said, look, I'll do a packet, and if you could get an office space, It's all you. And then she came out with all this, and I was
That's
like,
incredible.
whoa.
I need to get her tips because I have to find another one. So yes.
Yeah, we are at growing space. We're growing so much, and it's really exciting.
Very
But yeah,
exciting.
Jules, you're gonna be hearing from Logan. Just so you know.
Yes, you can DM me all your tricks. So another person said, since you're such a goal-oriented person, I'd like to know, what are your business and personal goals in the next 5 years?
5 years.
You
I'm
guys
still
are
trying to
really,
think
really
tomorrow.
good at questions. I thought my, like, how are you going to fix the world question was bad. But
In the next 5 years, again, I love the book The One Thing just because it's very much how I think, and it's a great book for me to say, here's how I think. Read that one. You know, both personally, my personal definitely intertwines with the professional. So that's what's been really exciting. I loved my corporate career. I absolutely loved my corporate career. I didn't leave it because I hated it. I just left it because I had other opportunities.
Right.
And my hobby just morphed into what it is now. So I think that I've been really blessed, and I'm very grateful for that I know not everyone gets to do this. So I say it's one of I acknowledge that I'm one of the few people that gets to do what they love, but it's actually, you know, personally and professionally intertwined.
Right.
So for me, the vision is I love to travel internationally. I've been kind of stuck here because we had to evolve Dare to Be. So for me, it's been really exciting to go global with Dominican Republic and to continue that growth nationally and internationally. So I love to travel, and that's what I want to do more. So I love that aligns with it. Personally, I love that our programs with the kids, it's all about exposing them to more things and being very intentional about that. So we actually mix what we love with the kids' programming.
Right,
So
that's what I was gonna say. Is we're growing together, and I think that's such a great philosophy to have, is because it does feel like you have to kind of people I think are just nervous about volunteering or getting into this because it's like they're just like, I don't have the energy, I don't have the time. You know, they're trying to make it paycheck to paycheck, and you were just very straight about it, and you said, look, you know, it's not a crime to enjoy what you're doing, you know, and making sure that you're getting something, that you're giving something, that it's a mutual situation.
And like me, I love hiking. So we're taking the kids hiking,
Right.
you know, and I met someone else that I didn't even know this was a thing, hiking certified, a hiker certification.
I definitely don't have one.
And so, you know, he wanted to do something with the kids. So that's how he came in, and he trained the kids for hiking, and now they're going hiking next week. So for me, that's exciting because it's things I love to do. So I actually like mix the things I love to do. So, you know, we get to go see the Lion King because the kids are going, and like, hey, I get to see the Lion King. So our personal definitely mixes up. So in the next 5 years, we plan on being in at least one other country. We at Africa and South America. So that's really important for us. And then personally, just being able to enjoy more travels, you know, as well, like with my loved ones. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I obviously am pre-law, so I am in that whole situation. So the next 5 years I'll be out of school, but in a lot of debt. So I would love to get into human rights law. I'd love to practice, you know, especially within the United States, to help a lot of children, especially this charity has really opened my eyes to just how vulnerable kids are here in the United States. We have a lot of issues, for instance, like Flint, Michigan, the kids still don't have clean water, and it's just, there's a lot of stuff that needs addressing. So that's what I would ultimately like to do, and then work with you guys forever.
It's very addictive. Once you join the leadership team, they don't leave.
Like 14 years later, like,
I know. If you speak to Jarlina, like Moses, they've been here forever, or like Angela, who founded it, you know, helped us fund it, and now it's helping us fund Dominican Republic too. So we lost the Facebook folks just because there's some wireless connection, but I know we have like 8 minutes left before Instagram shuts us down, and then you have to restart. So let's see. Are there any questions there? Well, we have a lot more. Hold on. Facebook has a lot of them. Favorite go-to snack?
Are we still on Facebook?
I
Yeah.
see it. Yeah, they are on time delay, but they're like comments.
But we're
not
still talking
questions.
there?
You can see our video.
So you can still see us because on our side
I
it shows
see you.
no. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna ignore that comment there. So yeah, so favorite sweets, red velvet with cream cheese frosting, not buttercream.
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Thanks, Chris. Chris has been an amazing supporter of Dare to Be since day one, so we really appreciate you. Elba, I love you, girl. Elba has also been an incredible volunteer and supporter, and she's actually like gone in. And again, this is what's incredible with the volunteers. You know, when we were shorthanded, like she would step in and lead events in other locations because we were like, oh my God, we're expanding. And because we were like, oh, let's expand. And it's like, oh shoot, can we expand? What are we doing? And then figuring out along the way. And Elba was one of those amazing people that was able to say, yeah, like I'm right here. And
So
it was
cool.
great. Yeah. So
inspiring. I mean, people really, your team especially, it's just like everyone just gets it done.
our team.
Our team. I'm like, still don't feel, I'm like, I
She
feel like
just
I
started.
need to like,
This is just the second week, just so y'all know.
yes. I don't feel worthy yet. So as soon as I do, then I'll start saying
Oh
our
my God,
team.
you definitely are. We're so happy to have you
Thank you.
here.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. And it's definitely, you know, I obviously want to get into law. So having this ability to speak to corporations, so I'll be working on trying to get more corporate sponsors and strengthening the current corporate sponsors that you have. So just having that experience of being able to speak in front of them and
Yeah.
be around an office environment to help children. I mean, there's like literally no better like motivation to do
Yeah.
that. So it's pretty amazing.
It's really exciting. And I think that's important for anyone that's working at corporate jobs. This is the person to speak to. There's a lot of different opportunities that we have available.
Mhm.
So do you want to go really quickly into the different options?
Yeah, so we are creating a specific option for corporations to get involved, whether it be through a specific donation or if they want to sponsor an event or if they would like to do a team building event, which is really cool. So you have a lot of experience in consulting corporations. So we're bringing that in. It's kind of a win-win situation again. So it's internal team building within the corporation, within the employees, and there would do events or little competitions in order to then gain money for donations. So
Yeah.
there's going to be several different options that they do have, but on the corporate side, it's going to be tailor-made and something very specific based off of their goals. So yeah, it's just going to be very streamlined because I think it can be a little bit intimidating to know how much to donate or like what our needs are, and we don't want to we want everyone to be happy.
Yeah.
So
again, it's just remembering that we make it easy to do good. But I'm really excited about the charity team building events just because we've been doing them with Morgan Stanley, and like to be able to expand it out, it's going to be a lot of fun.
yes,
And our kids just learn so much because we do have the kids participate as well. So they learn so much when they're there, and they just get like this whole incredible experience.
yeah.
And again, it's just exposing them to what's out there. So we have about 4 minutes before Instagram shuts down on us.
All right.
And then you have to restart. Any other last questions? Anyone here? Questions? Hi, Todd. Todd is actually Renee's family.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're about to meet
Hello.
Renee right now.
Oh yes, lunch.
Yeah. Late lunch. So any other
Um,
questions there?
I don't think so, except for the anniversary event is on September 14th.
Yes, September 14th, Saturday,
Mhm.
September 14th from 1:30 to 3:30 at the Cutting Room in Manhattan.
Yep.
We have Naomi, who is our event coordinator, who has coordinated this entire event. We have amazing sponsors. I know we've been pushing the free event for next Friday, so show up on that one. It's free.
Mhm.
But we have $25 ultra early bird tickets.
Ultra Bird tickets.
Ultra early bird tickets available until the end of the month. After that, the tickets are going to start increasing, and they're going to start going to 50, 75, and then 100 at the door. So get your ultra early bird tickets today.
Mhm.
Also, if you have any volunteers, if you have volunteered with other people, please nominate them. We're going to start sharing that so that you can nominate volunteers for our VIP awards. It's like our Oscars, volunteers.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's like our volunteers and sponsors and advocates that we're going to be acknowledging that day. So shoot us a message when you see that and let us know who they are.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Is that all?
I think so. And that's like how you're gonna fix the world. So I think we've covered it.
We're picking the brain over here. So next week, you're going to be able to get to know Monica, who is behind the scenes today. Monica's our volunteer coordinator, and she's been with us since 2015. So every week, you'll meet someone new in our Dare to Be family. Well, not new, because they've been old.
Right.
But they're not old. But
You
know
and
what
I
mean.
will meet somebody new. Me and the world will meet somebody
Yeah.
new. Yes.
Yeah, so any questions, just feel free to send us a message. Thank you so much for having us today.
Thanks, guys. It was nice to meet you all.
Besitos. Ciao. See you at the party.
Yeah.
Bring your dancing shoes.
Oh, I don't even know.
You're still talking on Facebook.
All right, guys. Bye.
Congratulations.